Hello there, welcome to CoreTV News at 4. I'm Gete. President Muhammadu Buhari on Tuesday in Abuja assured state governors that the days of impunity, lack of accountability and fiscal recklessness in the management of national resources are over in Nigeria. Buhari speaking at the meeting with governors in the presidential villa. President Buhari also vowed that funds stolen by government officials who abused their officers in the recent past will be recovered and systematic leakages stopped. While expressing surprise that the governors had tolerated the atrocities allegedly committed by the excess crude account since 2011, President Buhari promised to tackle the issue decisively. The president declared that the payment of national revenue into any account other than the Federation account was an abuse of the Constitution, adding that what he had heard was going on in many agencies and corporations, particularly the NNPC, was clearly illegal. On the refund of money spent on federal projects by state government, President Buhari assured the governors that the federal government will pay, but insisted that due process must be followed. The president promised special assistance for the 3 northeastern states badly affected by the Boko Haram insurgency. The president added that a comprehensive statement on the economic and financial situation inherited by his administration will be made to the nation within the next 4 weeks. On an immediate lifeline for states that owe salaries running into many months, President Buhari said that a committee headed by the Vice President, Professor Yemi Osibanjo, will look at the excess crude account and see what can be shared immediately. The governors, led by Chairman of the Governors Forum, Abdulaziz Yari on Zamfara State, had presented a wish list to the President that included obedience of extant Supreme Court ruling that all monies go into the consolidated federal account, an order from the President that all revenue-generating agencies must pay into the consolidated Federation account, review of the revenue allocation formula, refund of the monies expended by states on federal projects, among others. The controversy trailing the emergence of Ondo State Governor Olusegun Mimiko as the chairman of the People's Democratic Party Governors Forum has been laid to rest. His election was confirmed by his colleagues at the end of a meeting on Monday night in Abuja. In a communique read on behalf of other governors by the Ebonyi State Governor, Dave Umwahi, the PDP Governors Forum reaffirmed its support in the choice of Mimiko. The governors also resolved to speak with one voice on issues of national importance.
Governors Forum held today, Monday, June 22nd, 2015, at the Secretariat in Maitama, Abuja. We resolved and hereby issue a communique as follows. Number 1, the election of His Excellency Dr. Olusegun Mimiko of Ondo State as the chairman of the forum was ratified by all the governors present, 12 of the governors that came. 2, we insist that the state election tribunals in Rivers State, Taraba State, and Akwa Ibom State, which were illegally relocated to Abuja, must be returned to their various states immediately.
We are repositioning PDP, and that is necessary. After our outing in the last election, we are doing some reorganization, rebranding, repositioning. Essentially, that's what we are doing now. We are also putting ourselves together to offer very responsible and constructive opposition. I have said this, let me repeat it again, that on any policy, on any issue, if we disagree, we must, and we will, provide alternative views.
Now to Kaduna State, where the Kaduna State government has formally communicated its decision to stop the practice of distributing food items and gifts during Ramadan to Islamic leaders. Governor Nasser El-Rufai explained that the state is broke and needs to tighten its finances to serve the people in a manner that befits their massive support for change. He added that the so-called feeding of the poor during Ramadan is a window created to loot the public treasury with impunity using religion as a cover. In a press statement issued by its Special Assistant, Media and Publicity Samuel Arwan, the governor made it clear that the government will also no longer tolerate the siphoning of resources and the guise of gift to prominent politicians, public servants, and famous figures. He also explained that the government has stopped issuing contracts to so-called super politicians to supply foods, beverages, and other essentials as Ramadan gifts across the state because the process is fraudulent with nothing to show for it. The All Progressives Congress in Osun State has again assured the striking workers in the states that their salaries will be paid by June end. The party gave the assurance at the press conference in Osogbo. Rashid completes the story.
The press conference was an elaborate one attended by journalists and thousands of All Progressives Congress leaders and supporters in Osun State. The conference was called to clear the air and to also intimate party members on the state of Osun economy, particularly the non-payment of workers' salaries. The party rose to defend Governor Aregbesola, who has received barrage of criticisms from the opposition People's Democratic Party in the state.
Now allocation has dropped by 80%. For instance, at the peak of statutory allocation to Osun, the state got 5.5 billion in February 2013, but this has dropped to 466 million by April 2015. While salary and emolument was 1.4 billion when we came in November 2010, it stands today at 3.6 billion, following the increase in minimum wage in 2012.
While promising that the striking workers will be paid before the end of this month, the party is seeking for a bailout from the federal government. However, what is not certain is whether the government will clear all the outstanding salaries at once.
We will pay all money owed. We will pay all money owed. It's an obligation to us as government, and we pay everything. That's it.
State need a bailout first in order to stabilize the economy, and after the bailout, then we need to think out of the box and beam our light along other sectors of the economy apart from the oil sector.
The APC also warned the opposition People's Democratic Party against inciting the people of the state against the government. Rashid, CoreTV News, Osogbo.
President Muhammadu Buhari formally met journalists accredited to cover the State House on his first working day at the presidential villa. He used the opportunity to again reaffirm the task at hand with a virtually empty treasury with debt running into millions of dollars. President Buhari also solicits the cooperation of journalists and other Nigerians as it gets down to tackling the country's socio-economic problems.
I got one of you, the best one of you, so that he can consistently defend me against you. Whether his job is difficult or easy is up to him. But I'm here to thank you very much in advance for what good and ill you are going to do to me. My not so easy relationship with you,
but we're willing to do our jobs. We want to capture the achievements of your administration and the change that we are eagerly expecting. It means that we will educate the public. And if necessary, we will be your defenders, throwing light on issues that need clarification. All we are begging for, Your Excellency, is that you engage us. You carry us along. You accept us as your foot soldiers, and we will promise we will do our best by you.
President Muhammadu Buhari has ordered the dismantling of all military checkpoints set up in the aftermath of Boko Haram attacks across the country. The decision was taken at the meeting with service chiefs on his first day at the presidential villa. Defense Minister Alex Bade, who was part of the meeting, was not willing to speak, but permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Defense, Aliyu Ismaila, disclosed the outcome to State House correspondents. Vice President Yemi Osinbajo has advised that a good father should leave the value of integrity to their children. The Vice President, who spoke on Sunday at the occasion of a Father's Day celebration at the Aso Villa Chapel in Abuja, said that the good father should leave for his children not money, but values of the Lord Jesus Christ, stressing that these values are integrity and forthrightness. Has said what the nation needs now as people whose yes is yes and no is no, and the people of honesty, noting that this is the kind of value that the children can benefit from. One of the senators elected on the platform of the All Progressives Congress, Shehu Sani, has blamed the leadership of the party for boxing itself into a corner with the emergence of Bukola Saraki as Senate President. He also described the outcome as part of a plot by the opposition People's Democratic Party to break APC's National Assembly. Senator Sani, who spoke at an interactive session with journalists in Kaduna, I beg your pardon.
I believe it was an opportunity we missed, and the election of Saraki, from a legal point of view, could only be contested whether a forum has been made in terms of the election itself. And these are issues that the legal minds will continue to juggle with. But what we are trying to do within our party is that those who have perhaps the local standing to go to court is the party, and also those of us who were not present when the election took place. As far as I'm concerned, I will subject myself to the positions of the party and that of President Muhammadu Buhari over this issue.
The Akwa Ibom Governorship Election Tribunal sitting in Abuja has reserved till further notice ruling on an application for the relocation of the tribunal to the state. At the resumed hearing, the Defense Counsel, Adegboyega Awomolo, urged the court to make an order directing the relocation of the tribunal to the state. But counsel, through the petitioner Wole Olanipekun, objected to the application on the ground that tribunal must not sit in the state where election was conducted. He cited the case of Ekiti State governorship election petition, which was transferred from the state to Abuja and judgment delivered. The two-man panel, led by Justice Sadiq Umar, also adjourned till June 24th to rule on the matter.
But in any case, it's very clear. It has to be in each state of the federation. And to that extent, our position is that the governorship tribunal for Akwa Ibom has to sit in Akwa Ibom. It can be in any location but within Akwa Ibom. And that is why we came to court for that judicial interpretation.
The reason they sought for extension of the order already granted them to inspect was that INEC was frustrating their efforts. And principally, we're saying that that never happened. If they ran out of time and were unable to discover something meaningful in order to enhance their case, the natural thing would have been to bring it before the tribunal instead of indicting INEC officers who did everything humanly possible to facilitate the petitioners obtaining the documents. So primarily, that was our objection. And then secondly, the aspect of asking INEC to transport very sensitive election materials from Uyo to Abuja.
It's CoreTV News at 4. We'll take a break. Stay with us.
This is what the people are saying.
You don't run a big economy with generator. They need to do more in terms of energy and power.
Many things to do for this Nigeria about lights, water, and new TT.
For Nigerians that are not gullible, we know that good laws have done nothing good for this country.
Buhari won the election convincingly.
Talk to her husband that you should keep promise about what you said, and because people are watching you, another election is coming.
Because some people will stand for Yoruba land, will be strong man, you don't die.
This nation is moving forward. The best is going to take place.
The people giving voice to the voiceless.
Welcome back. Thanks for staying tuned with us. Now for more information on CoreTV News, you can catch us on our social media platforms, facebook.com/CoreTV News. On Twitter at CoreTV News NG. And on YouTube at youtube.com/CoreTV News. We continue with the rest of our stories. The police authorities have deployed additional 158 patrol vehicles on the nation's highways under the orders of Inspector General Solomon Arase. This, according to him, is in preparation to take charge of internal security across the country in line with the presidential directive. The Inspector General told journalists in Abuja that the police are prepared to fill any void that may be created by the dismantling of military checkpoints across the country. The police have arrested 45 armed robbery and kidnapping suspects in Lokoja, Kogi State within 3 weeks of the deployment of a special operations squad to the state. Police spokesman Emmanuel Ejiko said at the news conference that the suspects included a relative of a former minister. Items recovered from the suspects during separate raids include arms and ammunition, charms, machetes, as well as ATM cards of different banks, per some more reports.
Officers and men of the special squad were ordered into Lokoja by Inspector General Solomon Arase on 27 May 2015, and within 3 weeks, these are the suspects they picked up. These men, according to the police, were arrested in separate raids for various offenses ranging from armed robbery to kidnapping. Among the suspects is the uncle of a former minister from Kogi State. He, however, insisted that he was a candidate in the recent House of Assembly election in the state and not an armed robber. Police spokesman Emmanuel Ejiko maintained that all the suspects have confessed to the crime they were arrested for.
Arrest of suspected armed robbers and cattle rustlers. On the 4th day of June, around 2 o'clock in the morning, operatives raided Gidangwari in Lokoja area, suspected to be the hideout of hoodlums, which always emerge from the bush along Lokoja and Jokuta Highway to rob unsuspecting members of the public while being armed. The following persons were arrested in the course of that raid. Aliyu Bello, age 27 years.
He also reeled out a list of items recovered from the suspects. These include charms, ATM cards and guns, one of which was found to have been issued to a police corporal who was shot dead on May 18.
On the 13th of June 2015 at about 2 a.m., operatives of the special squad acting on a tip-off arrested one Issa Sunday Omoya, who is also known as Cat or Sunday Moscow, age 36 years of age, in Okehi local government of Kogi State. A search of his premises was made, and that led to the recovery of one AK-47 rifle with 13 rounds of live ammunition. The police also found one single barrel gun with 2 rounds of live ammunition and a number of ATM cards belonging to different banks and different persons.
But some of the suspects on parade claimed that many of the items on display were not found on them. They also insisted on their innocence, contrary to police claims.
Nigeria!
This man is crippled, but is one of the 45 suspects in custody. He is said to have a gang of 7, which he heads, trains, and sent out for operations. The police have meanwhile assured the people of Kogi State and Nigerians that they won't rest until crime and criminal activities are reduced to a reasonable level across the country. Pius Samuel, CoreTV News, Lokoja.
The movement for the emancipation of the Niger Delta has threatened to resume hostilities in the region if federal lawmakers fail to cut down their salaries and allowances. MEND issued this threat in a statement signed by its spokesman Jimo Bomo and made available to newsmen. The militant group based its threat on what it described as the ostentatious lifestyle of legislators. MEND argued that it was wrong for individuals to appropriate to themselves huge salaries and allowances and at the expense of millions of Nigerians who have for months been denied their salaries, pensions and other due benefits. It also noted that all these are happening at a time the Niger Delta region, where the bulk of the nation's revenue comes from, continues to suffer neglect and environmental degradation. MEND warns the Nigerians should leave members of the 8th National Assembly if its members carried out their threat to return to the crooks. A Lagos High Court in Ikeja Monday dismissed the 25.7 billion naira criminal charges preferred against the former managing director of Bank PHB, Francis Atuche, and others. Atuche was set free alongside his wife Elizabeth and the former chief financial officer of Bank PHB, Mr. Ugu Anyanwu. The three persons were prosecuted by the Economic Financial Crimes Commission (EFCC) for allegedly stealing 25.7 billion naira from the bank. In a ruling delivered by the presiding judge, Justice Lateef Lawal Akakbo, the court held that it is duty-bound to comply with the decisions of Court of Appeal and the appeal of Okenwosu and Erastus Akingbala. The judge noted that though the prosecution in its submission was right to say that count 1 to 10 of the charge was anchored on stealing, which falls within the purview of State High Court. However, the judge maintained that the prosecution did not make any submission to us whether count 11 to 27 have any nexus with shares and stocks. A Lagos State High Court Ikeja has convicted and sentenced one Emmanuel Osita, also known as Chooks, to 3 years imprisonment for obtaining money by false pretense. The convict was arrested by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission based on a petition from a legal practitioner on behalf of one Veronica Okonkwo, an 81-year-old woman who was the victim. The victim was said to have conspired with other persons. The convict was said to have conspired with other persons who were still at large and falsely presented to the victim that they had the capacity to produce local and foreign currencies from pieces of papers by dipping them into mercury. Osita and his accomplices hoodwinked the 81-year-old woman to let go of 120,000 naira's registration fee with Mercury Company prior to the procurement of the chemical. Dr. Generan was also included to sell her property in Festac Town, also induced to sell her property in Festac Town, Lagos at 27 million naira, and the proceeds appropriated by the convicts and his co-travelers. Upon his arrest, the convict was arraigned on July 1, 2014. He subsequently pleaded guilty after making restitution to the victim, including the property valued at 27 million naira, which the alleged buyer forfeited to the victim. Based on his plea and the restitution of the victim, Justice Lawal Akakbo convicted and sentenced the accused to 3 years imprisonment without any option or fine. The Nigeria Security and Civil Defense Corps says the protection of critical infrastructure across the country remains one of its cardinal objectives. This, it says, led to the arrest of over 350 pipeline vandals since January this year. Commandant General of the Corps, Abe Abolunri, stated this at an interactive session with journalists in Abuja. He also disclosed that plans are underway to acquire high-tech security equipment to bolster the operation of the anti-vandal squad.
Indirect arrest, that is, arrest made by the military, arrest made by the ATF, arrest made by the Nigerian Army, and other agencies of government such as SSF, stood at 100. We have just brought in an electronic shooting range to our academy here. From now also, there's going to be what is called NASS which we have presently in Yennegoa, for instance.
Now in Edo State, a community in Orion, one local government area of the state near Jesse Delta State, is experiencing its fair share of the devastating effect of oil spillage. Umuagwon community has about 2,000 hectares of its farmland embroiled in oil spillage and has rendered most of the farmers redundant and sick since the incident began. Leaders of the community have called on the federal government, the state government and the respective authority to come to their aid. The report.
The hectares of land where the incident took place last year March is currently not in good shape, as most of the affected farmers complain they cannot grow crop for daily feeding, adding that since it started, they have lost no fewer than 14 persons, while some others are receiving treatment with cough and skin rashes as the most profound ailment among children.
We stand here before you people. We perceive the heat. So no one, we don't know where we are going. We beg the federal government to see they come to at our aid. Because the crops now, it causes different diseases to our head now.
We have no food again. The land which we cultivate, which we use to cultivate our crops, is we have no land again for us to cultivate our crops. I beg you, federal government should come to our aid.
Water is no longer useful. The area polluted, the source of water we have here. We are even suffering. Even where to get water now is very difficult for us. So we appeal to the state government and even the federal government to come to our aid.
The community youth leader, Michael Egage, others protesting locals and farmers who spoke in separate remarks appeal for urgent measures by government to address the situation.
About 2,000 hectares is affected. Right now you can see all the crops planted in my community, they are all dead. You know, I've wrote PPMC and they refuse to even come to our aid, you know. And most of the animals in this area, they are all dying. You know, so some locals, you know, some local farmers, they have picked several antelope, grass cutter, and most people that even eat from those animals, they are all sick. And some of them are even affected, so I have skin rashes and all that. So I'm calling on the federal government, the state government to come to our rescue.
While Charles Mariagbe, a senior special assistant to Governor Adams Shomole on environment, who visited the scene to ascertain the level of impact, said appropriate action will be taken as soon as its principles are briefed.
And we've looked at some physical assessments, and we can see that there are some evidences that there's some situation there of some oil spill. We will take the message back we'll make reports, because the Honorable Commissioner has to be briefed on this, and we'll take necessary action from there. Unnecessary bodies that are supposed to be so communicated.
Mr. Okpala Anthony, an official from the Federal Ministry of Environment, will observe that the impact of the oil spillage was much, maintains that government understands the effect of spillage but assure the people of positive response.
It's the news at 4 and CoreTV News. We'll take another break. Stay with us.
Every day, every hour, and every minute, news break in Nigeria. Things happen so fast, it's most times difficult to track and comprehend them. But that's what we do right here on Digi360. 2015, would you want to come back again?
It's like asking Jesus Christ if he knew he was going to die, will you want to come back as the savior of the world?
We do not just help you track the stories, we break them down, explore all the angles, analyze the issues so that you can fully comprehend the stories and use them to make the right decisions.
Commercial banks in Awka are presently having problems contending with the surge of consumers who wish to obtain their bank verification numbers (BVN), which would elapse on June 30. The customers who became serious about the BVN since the deadline was set expressed frustration with the exercise at the branches of the banks they went to could not attend to them. The Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, had some months ago directed all commercial banks to carry out biometric and data capturing of their consumers. customers for them to have up-to-date information about them. Some of the bank's customers on Tuesday appealed to the CBN to consider extending the deadline. Some of the customers expressed that they had consistently been going to the bank since 2 weeks without success, while others say this was because only one branch of a particular bank was serving a high population density area at Oka. They called for decentralization of the registration centers so that it would be seamless, while calling on CBN to extend the deadline. Prices of tomatoes, pepper and some other foodstuff have increased in the major cities across the country since the commencement of Ramadan. A market survey in some cities showed that there was a significant increase in the prices of yam, tomato, beans and onions, while the prices of rice and frozen foods have remained stable as they still sell the same price since the beginning of the year. Some of the traders and consumers attributed the increase in the prices of food items to scarcity of the items' rainy season and the commencement of the Ramadan season. In the FCT, a big basket of tomato now goes for 23,000 naira as against 15,000 naira, while the small basket now sells for 2,500 naira against 6,000 naira. 600 naira. Similarly, there is increase in the price of yam as 5 tubers of big yams, which was selling for 1,500 naira before now sells for 2,200 naira. The survey further showed that the prices of basic food items such as rice, palm oil and vegetable oil have been stable in both Utakpo, Gaki and Wuse markets in the FCT. A bag of Mama Gold and Stallion brand rice sold for 8,500 naira, while a bag of Gari sells for 7,000 naira and a 25-litre of palm oil cost 7,500 naira. In addition, a 4-litre keg of vegetable oil sold between 2,000 naira and 1,300 naira, depending on the brand. Markets in Ilorin and Omuarong in Irekbodun local government area of Kwara also observed similar trend as prices of pepper and tomatoes have gone up. A big basket of tomatoes now sells for 25,000 naira from the old price of between 10,000 naira and 12,000 naira, while the small basket now goes for 13,000 naira. In Boko's Plateau State, a survey showed that prices of tomatoes have increased by 150% in major markets visited at the local government area in the state. A big bag of Irish potato that used to sell for between 5,000 naira and 6,000 naira now goes between 16,000 naira and 17,000 naira. Similarly, a basket of tomato that used to sell for between 1,500 naira and 2,000 naira now goes for between 4,500 naira and 5,000 naira in the markets. In the same vein, the survey showed an increase in the prices of vegetables in Lagos, while there was slight increase in prices of basic food items. The survey revealed that a big basket of tomatoes, which sold for 15,000 naira last week at the Mile 12 Ido and White Sand Market, now sells for 28,000 naira. A medium-sized basket of fresh pepper, Tatashe, now costs 11,000 naira from 10,000 naira, while a basket of chili pepper, Rodo, goes for 20,000 naira as against the 13,000 naira it sold for in the previous week. Rwanda Intelligence Chief Karenzi Karake, who is wanted in Spain for alleged war crimes, has been arrested in London. Karake, 54, was arrested at Heathrow Airport on Saturday and remained in custody ahead court hearing on Tuesday. He is accused of ordering massacres while head of military intelligence in the wake of the 1994 Rwanda genocide. Meanwhile, the Rwanda's foreign minister, Lois, has condemned the arrest. Karake is also accused of ordering the killing of 3 Spanish nationals working in the country during the genocide. A heat wave has killed almost 450 people in Pakistan's south over 3 days. Reports say the paramilitary forces are begging to set up emergency medical camps in the streets. Most of the deaths have been in the southern port city of Karachi, where temperatures in the surrounding Sindh province have reached 45C on Saturday. Hospitals have been swamped with people suffering from heat stroke and dehydration, while repeated power outages have left many out air condition and running water. And now sport. The Bianconeri has further blasted their forward line, confirming the transfer of the Atletico Madrid forward on a 4-year deal. Serie A champions Juventus have completed the signing of striker Mario Mandzukic from Atletico Madrid for a fee of 9-10 million. Mandzukic, 29, only joined Atletico from Bundesliga side Bayern Munich in July 2014 and went on to score 20 goals in all competitions for the Spanish club last season. The former Wolfsburg man shunned interest from the Premier League club to put pen to paper on a 4-year deal with the beaten Champions League finalists. As expected, the Quartier International passed Monday's medical leaving Juventus to conclude the 19M deal, split in installment payments over 3 years, with 2M in bonuses to be potentially paid to Atletico. Liverpool have signed Charlton Athletic and England under-19 international defender Joe Gomez on a long-term contract, the Premier League club said on Sunday. The 18-year-old, who made 24 appearances for Championship second-tier side Charlton last season, signed a 5-year deal for a fee of £3.5 million, according to British media reports. The style of football and the top players here was somewhere that I wanted to go and get better and learn. Gomez told the club's website www.liverpoolfc.com. Gomez is Liverpool's 4th signing of a close season following the arrival of midfielder James Milner, striker Danny Ings and goalkeeper Adams Bogdan. And that's our news for this hour. Thank you so much for staying on with us. Please join us again. I am Gift or Gete. Enjoy the rest of our program.